Okay, we're back in Hardspace Shipbreaker, and I'm still trying to figure out how the new ship type works, how to take apart a Javelin. One thing that I realized is that I don't appear to have access to demo charges, and it's probably because I have not bought this upgrade.
Hey, Cutter. Looks like you got your hands on the demo charges. They keep discontinuing these suckers because they're taking off more hands than a meat grinder. Guess it's time to see if they fix that little issue. Or we'll find out what the sound of one hand clapping is.
I love Weaver. Okay, so I've built up a bunch of currency over time, so I'm just gonna self-cleanup. Oh, okay, so I get more control over the range. That sounds good. And then this is... Oh, okay, lets me disarm the ones that I've placed if I want to. Okay, cool. So I bought all of the upgrades, so I'm going to be having some at least semi-upgraded demo charges when I first get started. So we're going to start our shift, continue our salvage, and now that we've got demo charges, hopefully...
Okay, now.
We'll be able to do this.
Your charge is in the right spot. Measure twice, cut once, Cutter. Ready? Now give that trigger a squeeze.
Okay, so there... Let's do it in a relatively safe place. I'm thinking something that's detached from the ship. The last time we played this game, things went horribly wrong, and I caused an explosion, basically, inside the ship with me in it, and that's not good. So we've got this guy right here. We'll give it a little bit of distance from the ship, and we'll see how these demo charges work. So we've got this cut point that was not responding to my laser. And so I'm assuming that we want demo charges on it. So the question is, how do we demo charges? I'm clicking. That's not doing anything. V is mode swap. Okay, so, mode swap. So I, in this mode, choose where to place my demo charge.
Great job, Cutter.
And now it marks out where the demo is going to be. And then hit V again to mode swap, and now I... Boom! And now I got to catch all the pieces. Hold on.
Lift off.
Okay, so
That's how it's done.
this goes in the processor mostly. So we'll send it to the processor, and then this goes in the barge. And that's that.
Object processed. Credits awarded.
So it looks like getting some distance from the ship was actually pretty important. All right, so I can right-click to rotate the demo charge and get it to fire in different directions. So that's probably fine. It's going to propel this piece of hull into that, but maybe that's fine. I'm hoping it won't be with too much force, and it will just stop it rather than doing anything crazy. Yeah, looks like it wasn't that bad. So, okay, so again, this goes to the barge. This goes to the processor. And we know how demo charges work. All right, so the the tethers that I placed last time have pulled off the back of the ship, and now we've got a reactor just sitting here, which is just crazy. So again, this is an easy level Javelin, which means it's not making me deal with really complicated reactors and stuff. So I can just pull this guy off, send it right to the barge. Very little risk of it doing damage. I remember what that was like. I got so used to the complicated reactors of the other ships and their more advanced states that, or the most advanced versions of the other ships, that it's just, it feels amazing to have a reactor be that easy. Okay, so we've got this little room that's wedged inside this outer hull, and I think there's still some cut points that I can do, yes, with lasers inside the ship. Maybe not that many of them, though. So it looks like the ship comes apart in rings, which is interesting. I'm used to ships that come apart in like outer fragments, you know, like big like hull panels basically. But it looks like this one comes apart in different kinds of segments. Just like that's got to be the fun part of working on this game. It's got to be sort of just figuring out. You've got a basic set of mechanics and a basic idea of how the game works. Then you've got to come up with content that is varied and interesting, that provides interesting new challenges, and not even just like challenges, but just like aesthetic experiences.
Gunner, your equipment durability is dropping.
Oh.
Keep an eye on it. You don't want to be dangling in the wind with busted tools. When you see it happening, head on back to the hab and use a repair kit to fix them up.
Okay, so historically, I haven't noticed there being a problem with using damaged tools. However, they did announce in their like update notes that damaged equipment is more important now, and I don't know how exactly. I guess we'll discover that. One thing that I love about this, though, is this airlock is coming apart in coherent pieces, which so far has been one of the biggest headaches with other ships in the past, is the fact that their airlocks just always kind of were kind of nonsense. It's like there was no good way to take them apart. You just kind of had to fudge it and do your best, which, you know, it's not bad necessarily, but it just feels like such a, you know, I mean, airlocks are such a common thing. It didn't feel like a weird special challenge with a particular ship. It just felt like, oh, there's another airlock. They're just garbage to deal with. It didn't feel that great. But this is pretty cool. That basically this airlock just sort of slid out with some basic simple cut points. So it looks like this whole piece just goes in the processor. Nice. So we'll take that, and it's light too. Holy cow! Kind of surprisingly. And then this bit goes in the barge, and I don't have to like take out all the pieces of the ladder independently. The ladder's just built in, and the whole thing goes to the barge. Oh, maybe the whole thing goes in the barge. Maybe it didn't like that after all. There was probably some component of that it did not want me to send to the barge. Oh well. Hey, this little tiny thing goes to the barge too. Why am I spending my time on this? I don't know. Oh, so luckily Luciana wants to know what game I'm playing. This is Hardspace Shipbreaker. It's an early access game, and I just absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things anyone has ever made. Just, you know, I was listening to the Expanse after show. By the way, the Expanse is excellent. Also, so is its after show. The other day I was listening to that, and Tom Jane and Ty Frank were talking about the influence that the movie Alien had on their sort of their take on science fiction, like what they looked for out of science fiction. And it was just the idea of these sort of blue-collar workers in space worrying about normal blue-collar worker things, but it was in space. And it just sort of like, it made you think about, you know, it's when people set things in space, they often just make the whole thing about the adventure and sort of the fantastical experience. And they're like, no, like if you were in space, there would be a lot of just work-a-day things going on. That, okay, I just realized that I've got, this goes in the processor. Okay, cool. Like it would be normal life, and you would have to deal with normal life problems in addition to the adventures that you're having in space. And that sort of like opened their minds up to sort of a more grounded approach to storytelling in space that is a huge part of what gives the Expanse its unique flavor that makes me love it. And so this game is just made out of concentrated blue-collar space. Like that is what this game is. It's sort of the most novel elements of Alien, what made Alien really stand out that way. This is what this game's made out of. And I love games and movies and TV shows that at least incorporate some element of that. I mean, that's part of what, you know, Firefly, having a mechanic instead of an engineer, for instance, was an aesthetic choice, a very simple aesthetic choice. But it kind of said something about the kind of world this was, and that was one of the things that made me love Firefly. So anyway, so Hardspace Shipbreaker is basically you are a blue-collar worker in space, and that's the whole idea. You're taking apart these ships. You're doing the job that that you're doing at the beginning of Jedi Fallen Order before you move on to your adventure. Only for this, being the blue-collar worker is the adventure. Okay, so now the question is, how do we take this thing apart? So, okay, so it looks like my orientation really matters here. So I need to delicately set up my orientation so that this demo charge is going to take out that entire cut point. Okay, I think that's good. I think it's just going to take out the entire cut point and nothing else. So since we're doing demo charges, the fun thing with demo charges, I imagine, is placing multiples of them at the same time and setting them all off at once. That certainly is what the fun part of C4 is in State of Decay. So
Got about 5 minutes left in this shift, Cutter. Don't bite off more than you can chew. We wrap.
all right, so let's place this here. Thing is, so I don't know if these charges are actually going to take out this entire cut point. Because, I mean, it is definitely showing that it's going to go a certain distance and no further. But maybe that's enough because it's a cut point? I'm not sure. We're going to have to figure it out. So, let's place this guy right there. Okay, and I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to try to keep these pieces attached, but just blow these things sideways. Oh, also, I wonder. I hope this is something I can cut. Oh, it looks like I can't. Okay, so these little struts might actually keep all of these things in place, even after I demo them, which might be useful. I don't know. Let's give this a try. Okay, looks like I cut all those points, but nothing broke off because the other struts are still in place. Well, that was very responsibly done. But now I've got to do the actual thing that's going to break these guys. So let's place this one here. So again, okay, so now the responsible thing would be to only do one of these at a time now. But I don't want to do that. I want to send everything flying and see what it looks like. So we got 3 minutes left. That's time to set 1,000,000 demo charges, right? So the question is, can I control how big these cuts are? It did seem like maybe I was, when I was sort of choosing my upgrades, it seemed like maybe it said that I had more control over the scale of the cut, but I don't know how I would control that. If I don't really know if I'm really reading that right, if that actually is an option, if I can maybe this green grid that tells me where the blast radius is going to go, or it's yellow grid right now. I don't know if there's something that allows me to control that, maybe do a bigger or smaller version of it in different situations, but it felt like it was hinting that that was going to be true, but I don't know. I could be misreading. Maybe what it was doing was just scaling the size down so that I could always do more precise cuts. Okay. Let's try this and see what happens. Okay, it does set them all adrift, but not that fast, which is nice. I guess partly it's because of the size of these things. These things are big. But now they all... Actually, I probably could have disassembled these because they all go to the barge. I probably could have done it in fewer pieces using less demo charges. If I had just cut it in the places that... Like these 3 pieces I'm sending right now probably could have gone as a single piece. I just didn't realize that while I was working on it. kind of getting some bumping going on here. Unfortunately, when we've got barge things
Salvage deposit accepted.
that are on the
Credits
top
surrendered.
of the ship, it can be a hassle
All right, Cutter. Wrap it up.
to get them onto the
Got
actual
about a minute
barge.
left.
Okay, we got 1 minute left. And I want to move this thing to the barge. Okay, I guess I'm going to let it tumble and see what happens. Oh, it looks like the other pieces I was sending got hung up and didn't make it all the way. At least one of them didn't. Oh, I feel like that was a worthwhile shift, though it definitely would have been better if I'd known where I should and should not make cuts, if I'd been paying attention. And, oh, wow, this thing. Does this thing only come apart in a single piece? Oh, this is going to be a fun challenge because this thing is holding it on. So I got to get this thing off first.
Salvage secured.
That can't easily be done from here. Maybe I have to do that from inside. Oh, so it's fun to see how they're really sort of like taking advantage, like they're really coming up with new ways to make the geometry of this matter. Like the thing that I just saw, I can't, okay, so next shift, I want to figure out how to solve that problem because I've got this scaffoldy thing on the outside of the ship that sort of, it's a cage that grips the whole front of the ship. And there's a big thing sticking out of it, preventing you from taking it off. So I think you have to cut apart that cage on the outside, but I'm betting you have to release the thing that's holding it there from the inside. And so figure out the order of operations, doing things inside the ship, outside the ship, back and forth. That's the kind of challenge that I've kind of always been wanting from this game. So it's cool that I feel like they're really like finding their feet and discovering what the more interesting approaches to the sort of intrinsic mechanics of the game, like where those are. So anyway, let me wrap up this video, and we'll do another session where I try to figure out how to take apart the front of that ship. So you can subscribe, you can, other videos, that kind of thing, and we'll do another one of these sessions.